Welcome, everybody. I'm Ollie Davidson for Animal Equality. I am joined today with the president of Animal Equality, Sharon Núñez. Hi, Sharon.
Hi, Ollie, and hi, everyone. It's my pleasure to be here with you and everyone today.
It's a special day. It's Giving Tuesday. It's a day of global giving where you're supporting charities that you believe in. And we obviously, of course, hope you support the work of Animal Equality today. There's plenty of ways you can give. You can see over my shoulder. You can donate now at animalequality.org/donate. All gifts given from now until the end of the year are doubled, and your contribution would be greatly appreciated. And Sharon, it has been a very challenging year for everybody. Obviously, animal equality is no different, and I just wanted to give you a chance to talk about just some of the challenges that we've gone through.
Yeah, sure. So, of course, thanks everyone for joining. It has been a very challenging year, I think, for everyone around the world. It has been a challenging year for animal equality, just seeing how much pain and suffering is being experienced. And also, we've been really making an effort to support our teams around the world who have been experiencing, like everyone, very, very dire circumstances. And of course, it's been a difficult year for animals too. And this is what some of our investigations clearly reveal. And we'll talk a little bit more about the investigations that we've done in 2020, about the wet market investigation that we've just released a second part of. And just it's really important and something that I think unifies us at Animal Equality, that we have this commitment to helping animals, to rescuing animals, to saving animals, and this gives us the resilience to keep fighting even in dire circumstances like 2020 has been.
Yeah, absolutely. And it was definitely a remarkable year in the sense that every year we kind of strategically plan out what we're going to do. We have some investigations that we're going to have. We have campaigns that we're going to do. Essentially, in March, everything had to stop. Everybody had to
Hmm.
lock down. All of our operations had to stop. We weren't leafletting. We weren't protesting.
Hmm.
We weren't. Our investigators had to pull out of the field for their safety. There was a lot that had to be put on pause just because we all had, everybody in the whole world had to kind of recalibrate. And I think what has been really amazing to see at Animal Equality is how, though we are working remotely, our work extends around the world. We have our 8 different offices, or our 8 different countries that we operate out of. We have lots of different offices around the world. And those teams in Italy and the UK and Germany and Spain and Mexico and Brazil and India and in the US, each of these teams have been able to continue to do important work, though they have been locked down and have not been able to do things in person.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think that what some of the most important investigations that we have presented this year touch on the issue of pandemics and the threat to global safety, to human health, and the importance of making changes within the way we operate in the world and within the way that we relate to animals. At Animal Equality, as you've said, we've had to put some of our campaigns, especially things that we were doing outside, that we were doing in the street, we've had to put those on pause. Our investigations were on pause for a couple of months. Of course, our investigations teams were working on research, on doing investigations, looking into different industries to see what we could find to come out even stronger with stronger investigations out of the pandemic. But a lot of our investigators are back in the field, and they're back filming these horrific acts of cruelty that are committed against animals every day in factory farms and slaughterhouses around the world. Work has to continue, and even though there have been some changes in the way we operate, in the way we do some of our work, we have not stopped working one single minute for animals. And this commitment to protecting animals, that are in factory farms that have absolutely nothing. Animals in factory farms can do very, very simple things that we can do every day, like like turn around or flap their wings in the case of birds. The work has to continue, and that commitment remains as important as ever at Animal Equality.
Yeah, and that was one of the things that was so fantastic to see is when we, things did have to slow down and our teams did have kind of have to pause their work. Nobody wanted to stop in terms of how do we continue in this new era that we're in? How do we continue to do the work that we're doing? How do we continue to expose what is really happening on factory farms and in slaughterhouses? And our teams have created such unique different ways of getting the word out and making a difference. And you mentioned the wet market campaign. That was a very ambitious investigation that we put out right after the pandemic was announced around sometime in April. From that campaign, we generated, which by the way, was a campaign to ban wet markets. We had footage shot in India, Vietnam, in China that were showing the horrific conditions inside wet markets. And a wet market actually is where scientists believe COVID-19 began in Wuhan, China, which we actually had footage of this market. And from this campaign, when it was launched, it was received by millions of people all around the world. News outlets were promoting it. 60 Minutes used some of our footage. We got over 500,000 signatures so far. A very important campaign that not only is talking about how bad things are for animals and the cruelty there, but how dangerous these markets are in terms of the type of disease that can be spread within them.
Yeah, absolutely. And there's no doubt we returned. We say we returned to where it all started. We returned to where most scientists think that it all started. That is wet markets. And we wanted to show not only the horrific conditions for the animals there. Just before this live, I watched the footage once again, and there was a specific image that captured my mind, and it was a turtle, and this man was weighing the turtle upside down, and seconds later, this animal was going to be slaughtered. And there's just horrendous footage. Another image that we shared is the head of ducks that are being sold in wet markets. Horrific footage, but at the same time, it's such a risk. It's such a risk for zoonotic diseases. We know that these animals are not only, we filmed that these animals are not only living in absolutely unhygienic conditions, but they also, their immune systems have been debilitated because they're just weak, they're starved, they're thirsty. We have wild animals that are living very close to farmed animals or domestic animals. We've seen deers, we've seen dogs, we've seen cats, we've seen chickens, we've seen ducks, and it's awful. And that is why we have decided to go back and just show this second part of the investigation, and to get people to sign and to raise their voice to finally shut down these places. As you said, we've raised over 500,000 signatures. And it really is time that we consciously become aware and fight against wet markets around the world.
Yeah, and as you mentioned, Sharon, after our initial investigation was released in April, our team safely, with the utmost protection for what they were going through with COVID and COVID protocols, our team safely went back into the field in China and got more footage. Showing that these wet markets are still existing, regardless of news reports saying that they've been closed down. Our footage found that these places are still in operation, and as you described, we found some pretty terrible things at these places. I think it might be a good idea to show the audience the video.
Almost 1 year ago, a pandemic virus emerged that has altered our way of life. Despite the danger, we have returned to where COVID-19 is believed to have originated. In February, Animal Equality conducted an undercover investigation to expose how animals destined for consumption are raised and killed in wet and traditional markets in Asia, and revealed how these markets are a risk to human safety. In May, our investigators once again visited these markets, capturing exclusive footage that shows the threat to our future continues. We found that, in the middle of a crisis facing our health, social, and economic systems, these sites are still operating. Animals continue to be raised, transported, and traded with extreme cruelty and in unsanitary environments that encourage the spread of new viruses. Join our global call to stop this risk. More than 500,000 people have already signed our petition. Add your name today. Together, let's put an end to live animal markets.
Very powerful stuff. And I will say what strikes me the most about this video and all of our wet market footage is the abundance of animals mixing together, of all different species and types mixing together in this filthy, filthy environment. It's no wonder that there are diseases that come out of these places.
Yeah, and we've been investigating wet markets since 2014. So from 2014 to 2019, we've been capturing images of wet markets in a lot of countries, in China, in Vietnam, in India. This is not only a problem in these countries, there is wet markets around the world, and there's live markets in the US, in New York. There is markets where they're in kind of shops, but they're still in cages. They're still live, and they're killed not in front of consumers, or not in front of the public, but they are killed on site. So this is a global problem, and we've been documented the extreme conditions that these animals endure for years. And it's taken a pandemic for these issues to be discussed more deeply, but we also must extend this discussion to factory farming. That is also a huge risk for zoonotic diseases. According to the Center for Disease Control and Prevention, 75% of all new or emerging diseases in humans come from animals. So, as we always say, this is not a problem in one country. This is a world, a global problem, and definitely the way factory farming is a global problem, and the way we relate and treat animals needs to change. And I think we can use these dramatic events that we've experienced in 2020 to spark a discussion and to spark changes for animals. And I would encourage everyone to visit our website at Animal Equality to please sign the petition. And today, that is Giving Tuesday, most importantly, give to investigators, give to these incredible, brave people that are visiting these places, that are putting sometimes their own health and their own lives at risk to be able to document the cruelty of conditions where animals are raised and killed, to bring us this footage that makes it to media around the world, and that helps us all become more informed and educated on the ways that animals are treated.
Absolutely. Today, your gift, and from now until the end of the year, any gifts that you do give to animalequality.org/donate will be doubled. And it allows us to continue to expose what is happening. And as you mentioned, Sharon, I mean, the extreme side of things is the wet market, right? It's a place where it's the dirtiest, it's the most cruel, the most violent, but it's unfortunately just a part of the whole animal production system. You have live animal markets, like you mentioned, in the US. Even regular farms and slaughterhouses are full of disease, are full of overcrowded, abusive conditions with animals that are not cared for and not cared about and treated as properties and commodities. So our whole goal is to, of course, shut down places like wet markets, but it's also to stop the tremendous amount of abuse that happens within the food system. And To that end, we had some really great success in Mexico recently, in the city of Zapopan.
Yeah, that's such a good segue. So Jalisco, that is the state where Zapopan is a region in the state of Jalisco, is one of the biggest, if not the biggest, meat producing state in the entirety of Mexico. And also, Jalisco, very interesting, has always been one of the most progressive states when it comes to animal issues, and specifically farmed animal issues. And that is where we're very proud of the state of Jalisco, because that is where we have our head office in the city of Guadalajara, that is led by Dulce Ramirez, that has 15 years experience working for animals and farmed animals in Mexico. And 2020 has been a monumental year for us in Jalisco. So new regulations were passed in the region of Zapopan. And this is part of a campaign that we have of Jalisco Without Cruelty. And specifically, these new regulations are very important. They establish that animals should be rendered unconscious prior to slaughter. Now, this is a huge problem for animals in Mexico. They're skilled in slaughterhouses in Mexico. And we ourselves have documented, our teams in Mexico have documented animals that have not been rendered unconscious prior to slaughter. And it is an agonizing death, where animals bleed for minutes, sometimes for up to 15, 20 minutes. And it's the most agonizing of deaths. So animals, this requirement of animals having to be rendered unconscious prior to slaughter is a huge achievement. And it also prohibits, and it's connected with wet markets and with live markets, because this new regulations in the state of Jalisco prohibit to kill consumer animals, so animals that are going to be consumed in public streets and places that do not comply with authorizations regarding safety and health. So this makes it more difficult for there to be live markets in the region of Zapopan. And this is part of our work, our legislative work in Mexico. We're doing legislative work around the world. We're doing it in India, in Europe, working in coalition with Eurogroup for Animals to achieve change for animals in Europe. We're doing it in the UK, but some of the most in the US too, but some of the most important work that we're doing legislatively for animals is in Mexico. And Jalisco, as I said, is one of the most progressive states for animals. We already achieved huge success getting the first regulations passed that protect farmed animals in the state of Jalisco, and now Zapopan adds to this. And our idea is to continue working state by state to get more regulations, more laws passed that protect farmed animals, but also to work at the federal level, getting finally protections for animals in a federal level in Mexico.
Yeah, and I want to highlight this work in Mexico just for the sake of, before animal equality existed. I mean, obviously, I know that there are individual activists working in the country to try to make a difference. But thankfully, because of the great team that you mentioned, starting with Dulce and everybody down there, we've been able to really make some advancements in the country when it comes to protecting animals. Getting politicians on board. I know that part of the work that we've been doing is not only to create, these new legislations and pieces of legislation that we bring up, but that we get politicians in the country to sign up who are so also horrified by this, that they lend their voice and they lend their time to make sure these things pass.
Yeah, and we have a fantastic lobbying team. And when some of our supporters ask us, how can I help animal equality? I always tell them, help us by supporting us hiring a lobbyist in Mexico, someone who works with politicians, who engages with politicians to bring these very, very important issues forward. And it's incredibly cost effective. For $25,000 a year, we're able to hire someone to work full time in Mexico doing lobbying work that we've calculated affects millions of animals. I mean, only the laws that were passed in Jalisco a few years ago, thanks to Animal Equality's work, that impacted over 200 million animals. So it is a great way to help animals to see change happening in real time, is to support our work in Mexico, and specifically to support animal equality, to hire more legislative staff in Mexico and more lobbyists in Mexico that will be joining a team of professionals that are prepared, that know how to work legislatively in Mexico, that know politicians, and that are led by someone who's been doing this work in Jalisco specifically for the last 15 years. It was Dulce and her team who got circuses banned in Guadalajara, where we have our head office, thanks to the lobbying work that they did there. So very professional team, and a great way to help animals and to support animal equality this Giving Tuesday is to donate to our work in Mexico, but specifically to our legislative work in Mexico.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think one of the wonderful things about animal equality as an organization, why it's so worthy of a donation today, if you are so able to give, even if it's $5, $10, $20, if you can give $5 a month, even that entire monthly contribution for an entire year gets doubled as well. So if you can do that, that would be great. But the reason why that it's so impactful, that the donation can go so far, is that animal equality is unique in that we're not just based in one place and we're trying to go into the government of Mexico, we're trying to go into the government of India to affect change. We actually have teams, directors, lobbyists of native speakers, native people of those countries that work with legislators around the world. So that way it's so much more, it can create so much more change if you're actually working within the community, working within the government, you have connections, you are part of that community. And animal equality is unique because we do have that capability.
Yeah, absolutely. And I also, I before I was saying Guadalajara had banned animal circuses or circuses with animals. Actually, it was the entire state of Jalisco. I forgot to say that before. And again, thanks to the work, this was in 2014, thanks to the work of Igualdad Animal, that is our name in Spanish in Mexico, and thanks to the work of Dulce and her team. And that has just continued to grow exponentially throughout the years. And as we've decided to, as an organization, to focus on farmed animals, continuing this work, continuing to achieve this huge change for farmed animals has been monumental. And again, it can't be overstated how much change our team in Mexico is achieving for farmed animals, ending some of the worst forms of cruelty. As I mentioned before, not stunning animals prior to slaughter when they're agonizing in their own blood for minutes on end is one of the most painful deaths that an animal can have. And we are working to ban that and to have regulations that make that that ban it. So it's really, really key for people to know some of the work that we're doing in Mexico and to support it. And this is also thanks to our undercover investigations. For years, we've been documenting slaughterhouses throughout Mexico and factory farms throughout Mexico, documented the suffering of animals there.
Yeah. And, just as a quick history lesson, Animal Equality was founded in Spain. And from that work you all were doing in Spain, you impacted so many animals, you changed so many laws and got so much attention. And because of the work you did, you got more funding. You were able to expand in other countries like Italy and the UK and in lots of other places in Europe and India, of course, and South America with Brazil. The funding allowed us to continue to grow. It allowed us to continue to make a difference in these communities. Again, we are not going into these communities and just taking over. We are working with local activists who then become part of the animal equality team, who then use their resources to build up the community of animal protection advocates in that area to work with legislators, to work with volunteers, to make change. So your contribution, if you can support animal equality, you allow us to grow. You allow us to get more people involved. You allow us to help more animals every single day. So if you can give today, if you can give for Giving Tuesday, that dollar will go a long way to help us make an even greater impact. It was just since 2006 that Animal Equality was founded. Look at the impact that we've made since then. And that's because of contributors like people who are watching this video right now, the proverbial you. So please, if you can, give to our cause. I want to talk a little bit because you mentioned the work that we're doing around the world. Let's come back here to the US. We've been doing a lot of legal work in the US, primarily trying, most recently, calling out companies for false advertising. And what that actually means is that if you see a label on some milk or some other animal product that says it's humanely raised or it's wild caught or these animals live in a beautiful place. Well, we know from our investigations that none of that is true. And I want to show a video here of what we're doing for false advertising and talk a little bit about it on the other side. So not only have we been taking the initiative and finding companies, and we'll talk about that in a second, but right now we are asking people to do some homework, I guess. If you're in the grocery store and you see some of these false ads, it's obviously, or it's false marketing, it's very important that we know about it so that way we can make a difference.
Yeah, absolutely. And we know, as consumers, we know that consumers are concerned with animal welfare. And what brands have done, or what some brands have done, is responded to that by deceiving consumers, using terms such as humanely raised or all natural, animal welfare certified. And these labels many times aren't true. And specifically, we know that consumers make decisions. They make purchasing decisions based on the word humane. They expect animals to be raised and killed with less suffering when this term is being used. So what our legal department has set out to do in the US is to bring truth to consumers, to hold companies accountable for not telling the truth, for using terms that are deceitful. And not only are we doing the work of bringing accountability to these companies, and in many cases, getting these companies to have to drop some of the claims that they're making that are deceiving, but also we're asking consumers to help with this important work. And we've actually launched an online form. I don't know if we can somehow give the link. I don't have the exact address with me now. I don't have the address with me now. But what we're asking people to do is, if you go to your supermarket and you see something that is deceiving, a label that is being used that doesn't reflect the animal welfare standards that it's describing, please let us know, because our legal team in the US can take action. We can bring accountability to these companies. So it's very, very important work. Our legal counsel in the US, Sarah Hannigan, is very brilliant and very talented. And she's working with a number of organizations to do some of this very important work.
And that website again is animalequality.org/stop false ads. And we'll make sure to put that in the video here. But, I think what's interesting is that consumers, like you mentioned, they don't want animal cruelty. They don't want it. They don't want to think about any animals suffering. So when they're purchasing, they're trying to do the right thing. And companies, unfortunately, are taking advantage of this, and they're labeling products which we know 99% of the animals that are used and consumed for meat are not living in an idyllic place. They don't have a lot of room. They are not being treated in the best way possible. They're being treated in the worst way possible. Mm-hmm. And so what we want to do is we want to call out some of these companies. And recently we had a lawsuit that we filed against Champion Pet Foods, who had been advertising their fish as caught by fishermen we know and trust from American waters. And based on all that we know and based on the work that we've done, we know that not to be the case. So it's important that we hold these companies to account. And most recently, Sharon, there was a complaint we actually filed with the FTC, the Federal Trade Commission, about Cargill's advertising and marketing of turkey products.
Yeah, absolutely. So that was a complaint filed, as you said, with the Federal Trade Commission. And what we found, and it was very timely because it was around Thanksgiving, is that the giant Cargill was unlawfully marketing certain turkey products. Sorry. So again, I mean, when we're working globally, and we adapt our strategies depending on the country that we're working in. And here in the US, and we'll speak a little bit about line speeds and slaughterhouses in a minute, one of the most effective things that we found that we can do is actually making sure that these companies are being held accountable when they are making these claims about the way that animals are treated. And of course, all animals that are raised and killed for food are treated very poorly. There is always welfare issues that need to be addressed. But some of the most horrific ways, some of the most horrific cruelties being labeled as humane, as animal welfare, as humanely raised, this is simply unacceptable. And we must call it out. That is what we're doing at Animal Equality. Unfortunately, our legal department in the US is very underfunded. So if someone this Giving Tuesday wants to support this important work that our team led by Sarah Hannikin is doing in the US, I would encourage anyone to donate.
Yeah, and you make a very important point, Sharon. That our limitations are not based on our desire, our talent, our ability. Our limitations, unfortunately, are based on funding. And we do what we can with the amazing amount of donors that we have and the wonderful amounts that they combine give to us every year. They keep us afloat. They keep us going. We're so grateful, so humbled. We do not get government money. We are supported by grassroots individual donors and fundraisers. And so if our work wants to be, if we want to expand our work, if you want to see animal equality do more, if you want to see animal equality impact more lives of animals and make bigger changes, we just need the funding. And today, more than any other day, Giving Tuesday would be a fantastic day for you to support us in any way that you can. Over my shoulder, again, you can see animalequality.org/donate. Your gift will be doubled from now until the end of the year. So please give if you can. Our limitations are based on that funding. If we have more funding, we can do more important work. And you mentioned, Sharon, line speeds. We filed a lawsuit in the US against the USDA. Essentially, it's sort of a complicated problem, but the simplest way to put it is that animals go through a slaughterhouse line to be killed at a very fast speed. There have been some limitations put on that for animal health and safety. However, recently, it seems like those concerns are out the window. The people in charge don't really care about that. They're allowing animals to go through as fast as possible, which unfortunately leads to improper stunning and animals dying a very cruel and terrible death.
Yeah, absolutely. And again, this is something that with other organizations we've taken on at Animal Equality, filing a lawsuit against the USDA. And as you were saying, the faster the line goes, the more cruelty to animals. And this happens at several levels. One, the animals that are going through the line speed, a lot of them are not going to be stunned appropriately just because there's not enough time. And they're going to have this agonizing death that I mentioned before. Secondly, because the line speeds are going faster, there's going to be more risks for the workers that are probably going to be injured more times and that are working closer to each other at this time of COVID-19 with a risk to the spread of the disease. And then most importantly, there is going to be more animals that are going to be raised and killed because of these fast line speeds. So it's a huge problem that we've taken on at Animal Equality with other organizations suing the USDA because removing the limitation on the number of pigs, for example, at slaughterhouses that they process per hour is simply appalling.
Yeah, it's absolutely appalling. And I think the best way to look at this is that we're trying to slow down and stop as much suffering as possible. And I think
Absolutely.
people who are in this industry are trying for their own greed and self-interest to increase the amount of cruelty that happens. That's just really the best way to put this, because if you increase lion speeds, if you increase the amount of animals being raised and killed, you are also increasing the number of animals who are suffering. We don't want to see that. We want to slow this down. And our work on this side of things, the legal work in the US has been trying to pressure the USDA. And we have also a website which will pop up here that allows you to contact your local legislators to talk to them and tell them how you feel about this and how you would want this also to these speeds to be slowed down. This online activism that people can do, contacting their legislators, signing petitions, we've talked about these things. But another thing that has been really working for our organization in the past few months since the pandemic is our corporate outreach work.
Mm-hmm.
Essentially what we do with corporate outreach is we have a team around the world who works with companies to talk to them about the benefits of switching to policies that help animals, that care about animals, that look out for their welfare and safety. And if they don't, we put out campaigns that call them out on these issues until they hopefully make these important changes. And so one recently that was a very huge success for us and lots of other organizations who were working on this was Aldi. Aldi had made the decision to be part of the European chicken commitment, and that's a big win for chickens.
Yeah, absolutely. And our corporate outreach department does such phenomenal work. Animal Equality does corporate outreach, which is basically working with companies and getting them to improve the animal welfare standards. We've already got dozens of companies around the world to commit to banning cages. We're also working to improve the lives of chickens. And that was the case of Aldi, the biggest German discount supermarket, has committed, thanks to the work of Animal Equality and other groups, to the European chicken commitment that sets minimum standards to raise chickens. It makes it eliminates some of the most horrifying cruelties that these animals endure.
And I believe this policy will impact 258 million chickens a year, and that is just a remarkable number. Also, our work extended to Brazil, where we've been working on this company for, I think, about 2 years, since 2018.
Mm-hmm.
I believe their GPA is the company name, but I'm telling you that the hard work of our Brazilian team, who really gets a lot of policies every year, really came through with this one.
Yeah, and it's the second largest retailer in Brazil, GPA. And this was a huge campaign that lasted for 4 years. And after this campaign and negotiations that we've entered with GPA, they've agreed to go 100% cage-free by 2028. But they've also committed to banning gestation crates for pigs by 2028. So a huge win that affects 5.7 million hens a year.
And this sort of policy was only made true based on the work that we've been doing in the country. And so for the past couple of years, obviously we've been doing demonstrations and we've had all kinds of different actions. But, of course, with the pandemic and us not being able to do that, a lot of our actions were online. And still, with these online actions, with the tremendous team of volunteers that we have, we were able to make a difference, impacting 5.7 million hens every year. And then there was one more, I believe this was also secured by our Brazilian team.
Mm-hmm.
It was a major egg producer in South America. I don't want to even guess how to pronounce. Is it Mantiqueira? Is that
Mantiqueira, I think. Yeah.
All right.
Mantiqueira, yeah.
I'll go with your pronunciation. It's much better than
Thank you.
mine. But again, another big win for hens.
Yeah, 2.5 million hens affected in one major egg producer in South America, Mantiqueira. which is a very, very progressive company. They also own a vegan food tech company, and they've announced the expansion of their vegan products, which include plant-based eggs and plant-based mayonnaise. So congratulations to our fantastic team in Brazil, and also to the leader of the corporate outreach department internationally, Katie Arth, who has also been is a phenomenal advocate and has been working for animals in the movement for over 10 years. And again, this is such an effective way to help animals and to get anyone who makes a gift to go further. I mean, our corporate outreach department sets its objectives based on how many animals it's going to affect, how many millions of hens, how many millions of chickens. And every time we engage with a company and we win one of these policies, we get millions of hens out of cages and we improve the lives of millions of chickens. This is a great way to see impact for animals, and encourage everyone this Giving Tuesday to give to animal equality, because this is the kind of work that we're doing, impacting millions of animals a year that are trapped in some of the worst systems that exist.
And if you're sensing a theme in the world out there watching this video, you're right. And essentially, if we have the funding, we can make a difference. If you give today, if you can give today for Giving Tuesday, our departments like our corporate outreach team, who is making such an impact for hens. I mean, hundreds of millions of hens this year alone have been impacted by the work that we're doing.
Mm-hmm.
If we have increased funding, we can make a difference. And as you can also see, we're impacting the entire spectrum of food production, from the farms to the slaughterhouses, to even our love veg and our plant-based cooking that we recommend to people just when they take food home, try to deter people from having to eat animal products or wanting to eat animal products. And we're using all of these different touch points, from our legal work, trying to make a difference, from working with companies directly, to our investigations to show what is happening. We are basically involved in everything. And if we can get the funding, we will continue to be involved, creating important campaigns like the one we just put out a few months ago. It was an investigation. It was a 3-part series, I believe. The first part was an exclusive with The Independent. It was an investigation we did into some British chicken farms who I believe it's called Moy Park, operated by Moy Park, who is a known supplier of McDonald's. And our footage really showed just the immense cruelty that chickens killed for meat go through.
Yes, we have been encouraging McDonald's to improve the lives, to commit to animal welfare standards for chickens for over a year. And investigations, which are part of the DNA of animal equality, investigations going undercover, filming what is happening in slaughterhouses and in factory farms and showing it to the public, and working with companies for them to understand that these outrageous footage reflects cruelties that need to end. And in this case, yes, you mentioned Moy Park. It's one of the leading chicken producers, one of the largest UK chicken producers, and it's a known supplier of McDonald's, as well as of supermarkets in the UK, such as Tesco and Ocado. It was very troubling footage. We saw chickens that were deprived of water. We saw hundreds of chickens that were suffering agonizing deaths each day. We saw chickens developing raw skin burns in their feet and chests from filthy urine-soaked floors. And this outrageous cruelty is really important that McDonald's and Tesco and Ocado are made aware of it and make decisions that are compassionate towards animals. And this is some of the investigations that we've released this year. I think we've released 7 investigations already in 2020. We still have more investigations to be released. This is in a very complicated year. Animal Equality has been able to present this very important work and get media coverage in The Independent, in The Guardian, and in other leading media. And it's really crucial for consumers and for companies to know what is going on inside these places in order for them to make changes.
Yeah, and these conditions that you described, these chickens were living in the Moy Park operated facilities aren't new, and this is why we have these stop false advertising lawsuits, because anybody who's raising chickens, anybody who's raising any of these animals, they're raising them in the worst possible way possible. These animals are suffering. And it's universal. No matter if we're in the U.S., if we're in Spain, if we're in Mexico, if we're in India, like these animals are living in terrible conditions. They're being abused. They're suffering, and it's up to us to kind of expose these things. And one of the recent campaigns that we had, Sharon, it was in Spain. The video we're going to show in just a second here is Spanish, but I think it showed our ingenuity. It showed some real creativity, and it's helping us really get the word out on what chickens are going through across the world. So let's show that video really quick.
Cuentos y poemas, obras de teatro, novelas, ilustraciones, edificios, avances científicos, películas y series, discursos, carteles, artículos y noticias, fotografías, recetas, canciones, cartas llenas de emociones. Los folios han estado llenos de todo lo que ha inspirado nuestra vida y ha cambiado nuestra mente. Pero hoy, en ese mismo espacio, se está escribiendo una historia que queremos cambiar. En España, el 77% de las gallinas pasan toda su vida confinadas en el espacio del tamaño de un folio. Ahora que conoces este dato, te pedimos que te pongas en la piel de una gallina y que seas tú el que escribas, dibujes, fotografíes, reflexiones o ilustres en un folio lo que significa, ahora más que nunca, vivir encerrado. Un folio en blanco es solo un folio, pero cuando lo utilizas para cambiar el mundo, es un arma cargada de futuro.
Now, my Spanish is obviously a little rusty, not as good as yours, but I will say that I gleaned from this video what I know from the campaign, of course, is that chickens only have the size of a piece of paper that they actually live on top of. And this video really shows that in pretty graphic detail, gives you that sense of that space that you actually have as a chicken to live on. And I just think that's remarkably cruel, and the campaign did amazingly well in Spain.
Yeah, and it's another piece of all of the work that we're doing to ban cages for hens throughout the world, and specifically in this case for Spain. So you're right, A4 is the European name for a standard size sheet of paper. That is about the space so that a hen that is raised to lay eggs has throughout her lifetime, that is unfortunately no longer than 14 months generally. And after that, the hen is brutally pulled out of the cage and transported to the slaughterhouse, where many times these animals are fully conscious when they are being slaughtered. I always say, which I think is very sad, that these animals never feel fresh air. Hens never feel the warmth of the sun. They do only feel that when they're being transported to slaughter. So in that final journey before their life, their miserable life is taken from them. So I was saying this is part of a campaign where we do investigations exposing what happens inside hen farms, where we work with companies to get them to ban cruel cages. And here we wanted to reflect what most of Spaniards and what most of people in Europe actually believe. That it is cruel to keep an animal, a sentient, a suffering being, locked in a cage their entire lives where they can't even move. So we launched this campaign. We had several part launches. We're asking the Spanish government to ban cages in the entire country. And one of the most outstanding, or definitely one of my favorite parts of this campaign, is that for a whole week, we had a huge banner in the center of Madrid that said that 77% of hens spend their lives in cages. So as you said, very, very creative, and it's part of this different strategies that we use to achieve the same goal of banning cages for hens worldwide. We do investigations, we do strategic campaigns, we petition the government, and we work with companies, having achieved already huge success in Spain, getting the most important and the main supermarkets in the country to commit to ban cages for hens by 2025. And this is another element of this important work that we're doing to ban cages for hens worldwide.
And, you know, there was so much social media activity when those initial banners came down in Madrid. People were wondering what was this all about. Lots of conversation about it, you know, from celebrities in Spain. And I think that was remarkable in the sense that it got people talking, and the conversation continued, obviously, once the banners revealed what the campaign was about. And it's just extraordinary that that humanity forces animals to live in such a confined space for their own gain. I am just saddened by this, but it doesn't ever cease to amaze me is that people don't know, and once they find out, they want to make a difference. But the fact that people don't know this is happening is just, it's crazy to me. But I guess why would they know? They're being taught based on creative marketing that animals live great lives and this is no problem and you can have this food and it's not a big deal. But it's been really campaigns like this and our work to end false advertising that shows that this is the reality of how these animals live, and things need to change. And I think universally, people, when they find this out, they want changes as well.
And that's what animal equality does. We bring truth to companies. We bring truth to the public, and we ask companies and legislators to change the reality for animals. And we do this through our undercover investigations that are showing what the public doesn't know is happening inside factory farms. And as you said, we do it through our false advertising when consumers are deceived around what the products that they are purchasing. Animal equality steps in to make sure that they're not deceived and that these companies are telling the truth and that they are bringing about real change for animals that will affect millions of them.
Yeah, and that change has come because of our wonderful team of volunteers, the animal protectors. We would love to see you join the animal protectors. We'll add a link here on how you can sign up, but essentially our animal protectors are using their time, not in person these days, but online, to do online activism when it comes to tweeting out to companies who we want to change, or tweeting to executives who we want to do different, or even just Facebook posts, or even sharing out our content. I mean, the most important thing that people can do right now, even though they are locked down, is support the work that we're doing with any online platforms that they utilize. If it's, like I said, sharing out our stuff, if it's showing your friends, if it's participating in our actions, we need that to continue to make change. And you know, we are here today because of Giving Tuesday, and of course financially, if you can make a difference, that would really help us as well.
Yeah, absolutely. There's so many things that we can do for animals in our daily lives. Of course, reducing the amount of animal products that we consume, or going vegetarian or vegan, supporting Animal Equality's volunteer program, becoming an animal protector, and really getting engaged in the work. When you become an animal protector, you get almost an email every day that is asking you to do specific, very, very specific and easy actions that you can do from home. That affect real change. And it is because of the work of the animal protectors that we've been able to achieve some of the great changes that we just talked about with companies, because animal protectors write to companies and they say, hey, keeping a hen in a cage your entire life is unacceptable, or hey, the way that chickens are raised and killed is unacceptable and I want change. And companies listen and they change. So what a great way of spending time, especially during these difficult times, than helping others. We know that helping others is a great way of being and living. And of course, as you were saying, with Giving Tuesday. So please donate to Animal Equality. It's really important that we continue doing this life-saving work. Our work changes and saves lives. So I would encourage everyone to give to Animal Equality this Giving Tuesday.
And if you're sitting at home right now and it's been a long summer, it's going to be a long winter of just trying to stay safe from the virus. We hope everybody is. Please be safe out there. Hope all your family and friends, your loved ones, are safe. I think it's a good idea to spend some time, if these issues are interesting to you or they upset you in any way, to learn more about it. If you go to animalequality.org, we have listings about all the work that we do and all the different issues, and kind of shows how you can get involved. Maybe there's an area of work that we do that is more interesting for you that you'd like to learn more about. We would love to hear more from you. So obviously, please comment in this video or contact us directly. We want to participate with you in changing the world for animals, like Sharon said. And of course, during this time, it's just very important to practice self-care, to keep yourself ready and healthy to make a big difference, be it with sharing our materials or going plant-based or working with other people to do some of this important work. And Sharon, I just want to say, because we are kind of closing the year now, it's coming to the end of 2020, thankfully. But you are an amazing inspiration to all of us, to the organization. It's so wonderful to spend time with you, to see how you grow this organization. Obviously, it's not just you, it's Jose and the whole entire team of people who work in animal equality, but it's just fantastic that your drive and your spirit has carried us so far since 2006 to now. And just for those of you out there who don't know Sharon personally, but can get the sense she is as genuine and caring as a person as you would ever want to meet. So I am so thankful to be working with you in this journey, and I'm hopeful in 2021 we continue to make a difference for more animals.
Thank you so much, Ollie. The feeling is mutual. As you know, I am just a little piece of animal equality. That is an incredible team of people around the world that are committed to changing the lives of animals that are raised and killed for food. I couldn't be prouder and more honored and humbled to have the position I have at Animal Equality, and to be able to help animals with people like you and all of the people who are part of this team, and of course our incredible volunteers and supporters and activists, and everyone who is dedicating their lives to help animals.
Well, Sharon, our time is coming to an end. Thank you so much. For those of you who have not donated yet, you still can at animalequality.org/donate. From now until the end of the year, your donation is doubled. Thank you very much. We'll see you again soon.
Thank you, everyone. Thank you. Bye.